Kacey. Welcome to Spark TV. I'm so excited to have you.
Hi, Danielle. It's great to be here. I think this is my first interview for the year.
Oh, well, I'm honored that you're spending it with us. That's so good. I came across your story through the social club community. So I went along to was it the Christmas event?
One, yes.
Yeah, so you were, I was blown away by your story and your honesty. And I thought we've got to get you on the Spark TV podcast to share with the Spark community. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. It was such a great event. I love the social club events. So, and yeah, I love spotlight events. They're good. I've always found inspiration in them. So it was really nice to be able to be out there and share my stuff.
Yeah, and like such a good vibe, such a good crew of people. I went by myself. I am very new to Perth and so knew no one, and everyone was so welcoming, so cool. Like, you know, you guys, the speakers were amazing, but yeah, just the whole event was awesome.
Yeah, oh, I love it. I love that empowered feeling of heading to things by yourself.
Yes, well, it's a bit scary at first.
It is, but the aftermath is good.
Yes. Oh, so true. Well, look, I feel like you and I, those types of people, will just talk all day. So before we get off on a tangent about how good Social Club is, let's tell everyone what you do, because you have two businesses that you're a part of. Talk to me about what it is. What do you do?
Absolutely. Yes, I do. I have two businesses. One of them has been around for a very long time. I've been a naturopath and naturopathic consultant in clinic, my own business for, look, I graduated in 2003, but I would say, you know, there were times there where I've gone and worked for other people, but as a general rule, I've consulted for pretty much the majority of that time period. So been in business from the point of having the old, you know, poster up on the wall with the pin that you pull off the number. That was,
oh my God, I love that. Marketing, so good.
Marketing 101. And so yeah, I still work as a naturopath. I'm still in clinic. I work now from home, which was a decision I made just prior to COVID, as our lease was coming up, and my daughter was at full-time school, and it was time to sort of make a bit of a shift. I was personally ready for a shift, and it was just perfect timing. Until then, I was loving being in the clinic and having that space outside of home. But my husband and I weren't getting a huge amount of time together, and it was a battle, but it was still the right thing at that time. And then, you know, you get that feeling, right, it's time to pivot. And so that's what I did. I moved the clinic home, and it's been, you know, wonderful. It's been really wonderful. Not a lot has changed consulting wise. However, for me personally, it made a bit of a shift. So yeah, that's number one. And I do that. I work 3 days a week in clinic, and then we have TUFF Rings. And TUFF Rings is a business that it's still pretty new, in the sense that the last 18 months we've worked really solidly and hard on TUFF Rings. And yet we sort of founded it 4 years ago. So my husband, sister, and I founded it 4 years ago. We really didn't do much about it other than let it take up cupboard space, with the worst website known to mankind.
Love it.
So bad. Now I look back at what I know and I'm just like, oh, Kacey, that was bad. And we were selling.
You've got to, well, and that's the thing though, you've got to start. Like that is I actually think that's the best way to do it. Because so many people spend so much time trying to get things perfect and polished that they just never launch anything. So I actually like that. There's a good saying around, if you're not embarrassed by your first product or website or whatever, you've done it too late. You're shipped too late. So
absolutely. And ours was just horrendous. And so, you know, for those listening, silicone rings they're a wedding band, and they break under pressure. So the silicone band is, you know, it's designed for people that work with their hands. It's not to put on your penis. Does
that happen? Do people mistake it for that?
I hope they don't.
Okay.
But we have had that asked a lot of time. Where does this really go? And we're
my God.
Your fingers. And
hilarious.
So it's a safer option and a safer way to go to work and go to site, or go to, you know, like if you're a nurse or a police person, I can get the right words. You can wear it safely and still honor your marriage, because, you know, like, I know at social club, you saw me speak about this. Like Aaron and I aren't hugely, we're not really big wedding people. Like I wasn't bothered if he wore a ring or he didn't wear a ring. I hardly wore a ring.
Yeah.
Due to eczema and just a few other things. I'm just not a huge lover. I mean, I love my rings, but I'm just not a big ring wearer, and it doesn't bother me because I feel 100% confident in my relationship, and I know he's coming home. I trust him, and I've never felt any different. As I've said, you know, if I cook the right foods, he'll keep coming home.
Exactly. We know how this works. Yeah. There's beer in the fridge and spaghetti on the stove.
Absolutely. But Aaron loves his wedding ring. Like he designed it and he really loves wearing it. And for us, that we're not really hugely wedding-y, but it does hold that symbol of togetherness. And so we're sitting on the couch one night looking up bangles actually for the clinic. It's a big women's event, like empowering women and so on, and talking about libido and all the fun stuff. And get some bangles made to the people coming. So I'm on Alibaba and we're looking up these bangles, and Aaron, and then we start looking up all the funny things on Alibaba, because having a good time is a big part of our life. So we got these bangles, and my sister's like, what about this one? And blah, blah. And Aaron's like, wow, there's my ring. Because he'd bought a silicone ring from the States and very tentatively bought it because he was like, oh, I don't know how much it is. I don't know how to convert it, because he never online shops, right? He's a very typical bloke. And he's like, oh, I don't know, is it going to get here in time? What if it doesn't fit? And he had all these worries and hesitations over buying this ring. And then when he saw them on Alibaba, it was like a little switch on. And he said, we should sell these in Australia because people would want them.
Yeah.
And just like me, and I'd rather have an Australian business and keep the money and stuff here and make it easier for people. And that's literally where it started, from an idea on the couch, and here we are today, you know, 4 years later. I've been busting it for a year and a half on TUFF rings. And I'm very au fait with silicone rings now.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And so cool as well that, you know, it just started as a solution to your own problem, right? Like you went out, solved it, then found where you could source it by accident, and kind of that light bulb moment of, we could do this for ourselves.
Absolutely. And, you know, I'm very entrepreneurial, always have been, you know, from as a young child. So I love doing stuff like that, and anything to do with the entrepreneurship. And so, and that thought of, how can we improve ourselves? How can we live our ideal life? How can we do, you know, we're always thinking of that. A high value for us is finance and money, because it creates security and joy, you know?
Yes.
And I don't say that money is a high value of mine with any holdback, because you know, some people feel like, oh, I don't want to say that, you know, they feel nervous or ashamed or embarrassed. It's important to them, but I'm not. Money is super important to me, because I can provide really well, I can feel safe, and I can take my family on holidays and fulfill my ideal life. So
this is amazing. So talk to me, I mean, because I was going to ask you the question of, so how do you find working with your partner? And did you say sister or sister-in-law?
My sister, yeah.
Your sister. So family and husband. Oh my God. But then as you started to speak about your values, it actually sounds like you guys have got this like on lock, that you communicate, that you design your life. Like, talk to me about this situation.
Yeah, look, I'm definitely the more like full on with designing a life and planning and prepping. It's definitely my thing, right? But he's there with me, and he's very obliging. But he also, you know, to sit down and have a conversation, bigger picture, and where are we going, what do we want to do? We are there, and we do share similar values. And my sister as well. And the three of us get along really well. We get along well. We have similar values, and that does make a big difference.
Absolutely.
I think, you know, we're on the same wavelength. We share some pretty strong, intimate values that are the same, like in all aspects of life. And yeah, so it could be challenging, and there are times where it is, but it definitely helps
that you have that foundation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And we have to be respectful of each other for sure. And we also know how to take a little step back if we need a breather.
Which never hurts, never hurts. So do you have different roles in the business? Do you kind of split things up, or is it all hands on deck? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, we have very defined roles because we have very defined abilities.
Nice.
So, like Aaron is super particular and meticulous and concentrates, and he does all the picking and packing and anything to do with dispatch, really.
Awesome.
And inventory, that type of stuff. He's very good at that. Whereas that's not my strength at all. I'd rather be chatting to you, creating the latest picture. I'm more that marketing, PR, customer service, e-commerce, big picture. And then my sister is like accounts, dollars, charts, Excel spreadsheets, apply for this, apply for that. That's her thing. And it's actually really cut and dry. We don't tend to cross over too much.
And that's so good because that's 3 super critical parts of the business, right? Like that is I don't know how you found 2 perfect people who you're related to that you can put together in a business. This is magical.
Yeah, it's really good. It is really good. And so we sort of back each other up and where we're at, and we cross over. Look, I'll help him do orders and things as well. Sometimes we need that little bit of extra hand, and we always do chip in wherever we can help each other. But having very defined roles was an absolute must from the very get-go, and it was talked about on the couch that very, very, very first time we even spoke about it. And we said, well, if we're going to do this, we need to have specific roles, because the last thing we want to do is be getting a little bit frustrated with each other. So it's good. It's good.
And did you document all of that? Is it written down, or is it over a glass of wine? Like, how formal is the structure?
That's Fiona's job. She's very
good.
Nice.
Guys, that's somebody else's podcast. Thanks.
Because Fiona has a background, and she's Auntie Fee, by the way, she has a background in management, business management, and works in local government or government. She's very good at those things, processes and procedures. And in the clinic, I have very specific processes and procedures. We have what we call the Bible, and it documents from opening up, turning the lights on, how to use everything. Nice. So, we're already on that wavelength. So it's just a matter of Fiona typing it up. So yeah, we do. We have a group Facebook page and a group text message that goes stream or feed. And that's sort of where everything happens. And we have a Friday night staff meeting.
I love it. I love it.
We all work full time. Like Aaron and Fiona are employed full time, whereas I work for myself between TUFF rings and in the clinic. So we need to have that time, but it's really the only time we can do it. So Friday nights and whenever we see each other. And there is that understanding of it's enough is enough. Like, okay, no more TUFF rings. Like, it's not TUFF rings talk now. Hard to do when you're very excited about your business.
Well, and it is interesting, that is an interesting dynamic, right? To navigate when you are, and there's plenty of couples who are in business together and do find it difficult to kind of switch off, right? Because if you're the entrepreneurial type, you're right. Sometimes things are so exciting. And also depending if you do have the different job roles defined, sometimes one person's really excited about what's happening and the other person's not so excited.
Yeah.
So actually being able to, communicate effectively and saying, okay, time out, this is waiting till tomorrow. And having somebody, a partner in crime that is okay with that is so important.
Yeah, communication is key. And it's something I'm super grateful for, that we as a couple, excluding my sister on this one, but as a couple, we've done a lot of work around communication. And sure, we don't communicate perfectly. Lots of times we balls it up. Actually, probably daily we have balls ups. But we also know how to navigate out of those very well. And we know how to conflict resolve between us. We know what our triggers are. We know what our wounds are. And we can get around that. Now, that's not something I've ever been taught. It's not something I was taught to do. But what I know is, like anything in life, if you want it to work or you want it to be successful, you've got to put in the hard work. You've got to do the training, and don't wait to have to fix it. Like, make it the best before you get to that point. So we've done like personal development, we've done relationship development courses, and that I'm super proud of. Like, I don't feel ashamed or embarrassed to say that we've done.
No, I'm fucking impressed.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're a minority for sure, and all marriages have their seasons, all relationships, and so over those times we've had plenty of challenging times. But one thing we can do is really communicate and rely on each other and trust each other and know. We know, we understand that little bit of difference, how we communicate. So
I'm impressed that you got a man to relationship courses. Like,
it wasn't easy. He loved it in the end. He said it was, one of the ones we went to was a whole weekend, and but he was sweating and carrying on before we left. And by the end of it, he said, "This is in the top 3 things I've ever done."
Wow, that's so cool.
What are we taught? We're only taught what we see, right? When it comes to our relationship. So we only see our parents' relationships, and they only saw their parents' relationships. And in no disrespect to either of our parents, that they do their best with the resources and what they know of themselves, of their own communication styles and what they've been taught. And so we bring that and that knowledge with us and our own wounding as children from whatever it may have been into our relationship. And that means whatever we're doing in life, whether that be working in a business together, parenting, those patterns and learnt behaviours are there driving us and being that cornerstone for decision making and boundaries and all that stuff. So it was really apparent to me that we needed to work on things to have the best marriage, and that's what we signed up for, right?
That's so good. I remember actually, a previous partner going to relationship or couples therapy or whatever we call it. And it was the first time that actually resonated with me. So, I'm an under communicator in my family. We don't talk about anything. We sweep it right under the rug.
Much easier under there.
Absolutely. And just builds up and builds up. And it wasn't until someone facilitated a conversation and asked questions that we would never ask of ourselves that I actually got to understand the person sitting across me or from me. I actually never knew half of the stuff that came out of those sessions, even though we'd been together for a decade, because I just never knew the questions to ask. I never spoke about those things growing up, so didn't know that I should ask those questions in a relationship. So actually actively going out there and seeking out, whether it's therapy or a course or just education in general, I think that's so powerful, and you're right. Like, yes, we're talking about, being in business with someone, and yes, this is a business podcast, but it is just so interesting. Like, any relationship in our life takes work. And I love that you said, that's what we signed up for, the actual doing it intentionally. I think that's so cool.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter what type of relationship it is. If we can actually go, wow, when this happened, it actually triggered this for me, and I know my response was from a place of hurt or wound or sadness or, and I know it actually, in my right mind, I know what happened wasn't your intent to hurt me. And I take responsibility for my actions and how I did this. Can we do this moving forward? Like, to be able to have a conversation like that, you got to be taught that. You either got to you have to see it, or you got to talk it through, and you got to learn it, and you got to practice. And as I said, we bicker and carry on and all the rest, like lots of people. But behind closed doors, or not always, we can do that. We can come back to go, hey, you know what? That was a bit of a dick move, and this is why, and we can own our own stuff, and and so it's key, because it doesn't, to be able to do that with a staff member down the track or whoever it might be is going to be important.
Well, and that's exactly right. So we kind of focus on these, growing in our own relationships, but as leaders, if we have team members, we also have to recognize that they're coming to the table with their own stuff as well. And so sometimes when we look at people's actions on our team and we go, what is happening here? You do have to dig a little deeper sometimes and really seek to understand, you know, where people have come from, what they think right and wrong is, you know, and the why behind why they're doing or acting the way they're doing or acting.
Yeah, for sure. You got to know the why. It comes down to that for everything. So I guess the way we are and what we do is so intertwined in the message and the mission of a ring and having silicone rings, because, you know, yes, it was about him wearing a ring to work and it being safer and all the rest, but there's really a deep sense of honoring our marriage and honoring marriage so that's,
I love it.
Actually, it feels really nice to be working on something that has a meaning so deep. And in clinic, it's very similar, you know, like I love helping people. I know that I have the ability to help people, and I've loved that for a long time. So again, it feels like it comes from a really good place for me, and that's provides contentment.
And how important as well, considering, so also I'm seeing a few little kids' toys behind you.
I know.
So, so there's a family here. This isn't just husband and wife. This is that we have 1, 2, how many kids have we got here?
We have one. We have Tilly. She is just turned 8. And I kept this here because I was like, I just need to clean it up because I don't like working in mess. It's funny, I'm a typical Virgo. My car, like you think it's the tip, but my workspace I have to have spot on. Anyway, this is the 8th birthday present haul.
Love it.
And she had it on her bed, but she couldn't get in. So I said to her, put it on my work bed. We've got a couple of days before clinic, and then we'll tidy it up and put it away. But that's the reality. And I thought, no, I'm going to leave it there because that's the reality of working from home, being a mompreneur, like working with children, is that sometimes we got to adjust and. No,
well, and that was going to be my question. So, you know, it really struck me when you said, you know, there are really these deep-seated values behind both businesses, which, you know, I'm kind of thinking if you're managing a child and a family and 2 businesses, you've got to have that to keep showing up. But like, how do you balance it all? How do you do it all?
Yeah, and you know, I think we need to be really clear that the clinic, I don't work it in the same capacity that I have in the past. It was an active choice, right?
Yes.
That was an active choice. I've been a clinician for 20 years, naturopath, and it was time for me to take a little step back and not do it full time because I wanted something different.
Yeah.
My ideal life looked different. There'd been a shift. So, yeah.
How did that decision feel though? So that's pretty big, going from 20 years doing the same thing, like leveling up, growing that business, and then having to say, time out, I want to change. How was that process? That's huge.
It took a year and a half. I gave myself the space, and that was part of moving home, was that I knew there was a disconnect. I knew that was going on. I could feel it, and I wasn't getting the fulfillment all the time like I normally would have. So I was like, okay, I need to make a shift, but you can't make a change unless you create space.
Yes.
So I had to create physical, mental, emotional, financial time. I had to create space across the board, but not allow an expectation or a rush for that decision to happen. Yes, I still needed to earn an income. That's 100%. But I had this, I've been doing this work for a long time. So there were things that I could say, all right, I don't need to invest my time into that as much or this anymore. I'm going to do it at a different pace, slightly change things up, and then see what happens. So once I'd given myself that space, then I sat down and actually asked a question that I ask all my clients. What do you actually love doing when it's wet, raining, you don't want to get off the couch because you're cold? What do you get off that couch for? What will you pick up a phone and have a conversation and not stop talking about? And I asked myself, and I'm like, because those things are what spark joy. and then what spark like they're what keep you going, right?
Yeah.
That's what your ideal life is. So why not, if that's what you love and you're passionate about, put my time into that. So when I asked myself that question, other than it being chocolate, I was like,
mine's wine. That's all I was thinking about, wine.
like, well, I can't really start a chocolate shop. That would be dangerous.
Yeah.
What is it that I love? And I love the marketing. I love the marketing side of the clinic, and predominantly because it's education. For a clinic and service like that, it's education. So I like that. I like doing the creative side of things.
Yeah.
And so when I actually nutted out, okay, that's what I like, and I already nutted out, this is what my ideal life is. These are my non-negotiable things. It's non-negotiable that I will not work full-time in the school holidays. It's not negotiable.
Yeah.
Right?
Love it.
I want to be around as much as I can to parent. I want to parent my own child. I want that experience because I know it's a short period of time in my life. So it was if any form of work or any change would encroach on that, it was a no, because it wouldn't be long lasting. I would not feel happy. I would struggle with anxiety. My mental health would deteriorate. So it was a no. So I was like, okay, it has to be something. So it was like a bit of a process. What's your ideal life? What are your non-negotiables?
Yeah.
And what do you actually get off the couch for? Okay, now we have to work with that. And I was like, well, we've got all these rings in the cupboard, and, you know, call it the secret, call it whatever we want to call it. But we get this massive order of rings from the police dog squad.
Wow.
And I was like, a bit of laughing that we thought we were getting done for tax fraud. No, we hadn't done anything fraudulent. We were like, oh, why are the police after us? Anyway, they ordered all these rings. And I, you know, and it was just this light bulb moment of, you know what, I'm working so hard on my new book for people.
Yes.
And I'm learning all this e-commerce. And I'm wanting to make these changes. But I've got these rings that are in high demand, and it's the crappiest website, and we're doing nothing, and they're just sitting there. And I love all the stuff. All the stuff I love doing is required.
Wow. Yep.
You know, once you create space, guess what comes in? The universe serves, right?
It gives you the answer. Yes.
There it was, literally right there in my cupboard. So boom, I started applying what I was learning for the clinic and the book that I'd been writing for people to use into the rings. I'll just add a bit more each week and do a few more hours.
Yeah.
A few more hours, easier, a few more hours. And here we are 18 months later and doing very well.
That is like phenomenal, but I could not agree with you more. The giving yourself space is where it's at. I feel like, and I'm still guilty 10 years later of being in a business, that I just go, oh my God, I've got to do everything on my to-do list. That's the most important thing. If I'm not doing, then I'm not working hard enough. But it is in the moments of stopping and reflecting. And sometimes for me, that looks like reading a book or staring into space.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or talking to my partner, because he's really good at, because he's not a business owner, but he's high enough up in his workplace that he understands business. He can ask the right questions. And so he probably knows very little about what I do, but just asks really poignant questions that make me think. And I'm like, oh, which sometimes you don't get when you're working from home by yourself.
Not at all. The walls could talk. They would tell some funny stories, but they don't ask me any good questions.
They don't ask any good questions, do they?
You know, Danielle, you said, how do I balance it? And I think it's funny, like I used to want to try and balance people's worlds as a clinician. And I want to, you know, women still come in and are like, I'm so tired, like I'm working all the time, I'm yelling at the kids, I'm not having sex with my husband, I'm this and I'm that, I'm holding weight and I'm hormonal, the skin's out, breaking out.
Yeah.
I just need to get some balance. How do I get some balance? And that is honestly, I could record it over and over. And I just don't think it's correct. Balance is probably some mystical place that nobody actually knows where it is. And you know, wherever there is, wherever we do one thing, there's always sacrifice.
Yeah.
So when I started doing, like, I wanted space to be able to move forward, I had to sacrifice something, didn't I? Which I sacrificed the time that I would work hard on my clinics. And that does in turn reduce my income. There's sacrifice. If I don't want to work on the holidays, I have to sacrifice my time and do things differently another way. There's always, you know, so is it actually balance? I don't think so. I think we have to work out what we're going to prioritize, why we want to do it, how we want to do it, what does it look like, and then we work out a way to make it fit. Because the amount of times I have mums in here and I think, you know what, you actually hate your job, you're not enjoying being a parent, this isn't working for you. And I know that we can't all just quit our jobs the next day. As I just said, it took me 18 months to really settle with where I was heading.
Yes.
But we don't know our ideal life, and we don't know our non-negotiables. We can't even create what it is we do want. And what we want is contentment and happiness and joy. That to me is the so-called balance. So I don't think it's about creating balance. I think it's about creating the life that we want, and then it falls into place.
Yeah. And I love how you said the word sacrifice, because you are right? Whenever we're choosing to do something, we are choosing not to do something else.
Yeah.
But I feel like sometimes that's a good thing, right? So in case in point where you said I had to create space to be able to understand and decide what was next and what that would look like. But as a result, I had to sacrifice X, Y, Z. You know, it's very easy for us to not want to make the sacrifice and stay stuck and stay in a job we hate, or a business we hate, or a relationship we hate, or, you know, whatever it is, because it's harder to make the sacrifice.
Yeah, and it's easier to actually navigate pain because we already have patterns in place to do that. Or we go buy extra size clothing, or we tell ourselves that, oh, we're not good enough, or we're this or that, or, you know, we have an extra few bottles of wine in the week, or we go for a massage. And, you know, I added up someone's cost to survive their life once, and it was over $400 this in 1 week this client was spending.
Oh my God.
She was stressed she didn't have enough money.
Wow.
But she was spending over $400 just to survive the stress of working full-time and parenting, you know, all the rest, the balance. And it's and that, as a from a clinical perspective, as a naturopath, it breaks my heart, because sure, I can give people Neurocalm and magnesium and all the nutrients you require to support the nervous system. But as you say, it's actually easier sometimes to do that than to step up and go, okay, I need to make a change. But it's a hard little space or vortex to be in. But
look, it is so true, and you're just triggering me right now. Because it is true. I've been thinking, so literally today, having a bit too much client work on my plate, and I'm going, oh, this isn't right. You know, this is not actually the business you've been trying to create. What are we doing here? And then feeling guilty for sacrificing time spent there to not build up the other, you know, the membership and the course and the stuff that's going to be a little bit more autopilot-y, so I can have a little bit more balance. So yeah, it is really kind of hitting home, it just for me personally right now, going, you're so right. It's just so easy to sit in pain, and I know I can do that every day of the week. That's fine. I can build that. But, you know, red flag, going, that's not actually what the dream life looks like. What are you doing?
and it's funny because I don't, people go, oh, you know, you're working again. I work. I don't feel like I work. I feel like I live.
Oh God, stop it. I love that.
It's different.
Yes.
I don't feel like I go to work. I feel like I just live. This is just my life. I just live it. And so if that means at 1:30 today I have to pick my daughter up, or at 3 o'clock today I have to go and pick up my daughter, tools down and off we go. And the times that are designated to work, so to speak, or clinic or TUFF rings or home, they need to be, they are so batched and segmented. Like, right, this is clinic time, this is homework time and family time and breakfast time. And so I'm pretty rigid. If someone says, oh, come, you know, want to do this, which is, oh no, that's breakfast time, that's dinner time, no, that's TUFF rings time. And so yeah, I do work a lot of hours, but
you actually probably live more than a lot of people.
I feel like I just do it because that's like I enjoy what I do. And if I'm not enjoying it, it's not going to work for me. I'm not going to do a good job at it. It's not going to reflect in my work or my life. Now, that doesn't mean don't do the hard things. It just means look at the big picture. If it's not working for me, then it's not working for anything.
And I love as well the time blocking and the systems and the processes and the non-negotiables, because I sometimes think that we mistake freedom for, I can just show up and do whatever I want right now. But I think that the freedom comes in the systems, because
100%.
Yeah, like when you show up, like, as there's actually nothing worse than looking at the 100 things on your to-do list going, I don't actually know which one to choose. But when you go, oh, it's 9 o'clock, I have my coffee and I do my sales admin, I don't have to think about anything. I know exactly what I'm doing. I go to that list, I answer all of those things, I make sure everyone's happy, and done. There is no overwhelm. There is no decision making. And I think that creates this level of freedom inside your mind, which is just phenomenal.
100% it does, you know, it's going to, like, if I just booked clients in anywhere willy-nilly over my week and then worked things around it, I'm not going to have blocks of time to work. I also know how I personally work at my best. Now, some people work really well late at night. I don't. I work really well when I wake up first thing in the morning and I get started and I'm uninterrupted in the quiet. So that doesn't work having a child going to school. What I've worked out is that now, if I do drop off and I get straight home to my desk and I work uninterrupted until 12:31, I can do in that 4 hours, I can actually do more work than if I dick around in the afternoon for 8 hours.
Yes.
So that 4 hours is my prime time. It's my most productive. I do all the things that are mentally challenging or hard. I do all my creative stuff generally before school pickup when I'm laying on the bed, or when I get home from the gym. So I do blocks of creativity right in those two spaces.
Awesome.
Now, over a whole week, that gives me, what's that? About 8 hours in a week. So that's a day's work.
Yeah.
But I do it because I know that I function in that manner. So I come home, I'll drink my water, I get home, read my 2 pages, lay down, set up, make any content or set it up, or, you know, press hit go, whatever. But and it's done, do my breakfast run, school run, and I'm back to my desk. But if anyone wants an appointment with me between 9 and 12 on a business day, on a TUFF rings day, or a friend wants a coffee, it's a hard no.
I love that. There is so much power in understanding your own energy.
Fully.
Like, I feel like if you can decode that for yourself, your productivity goes through the roof, and the resistance as well. Like when you're trying to push through, like if you're not a morning person or you're not a night person or whatever, and you're trying to push through because you're like, well, even for me, so I'm not kind of the opposite. So I take a little minute to get out of bed in the morning. And for so long, I just felt like, well, if I'm not getting up at 5 a.m. and in the 5 a.m. club and I'm not doing my yoga and my journaling and my whatever, then clearly I'm a failed business owner. But I know exactly when I'm good. I know, exactly when I'm most productive. And I know when to do the right kind of work. And I know when I've got low energy. And so I've got a list of things that I do when I'm low energy, because I don't have to think about them. There's stuff that needs to get done, but I don't have to think too hard. So that happens when I'm done for the day. So there's such power in understanding yourself and how you show up in your business.
100%, and being organized. My sisters are uber organized, like way above organized on me, but I'm pretty organized. There's no way in the world I'm doing washing while I'm working. I might work from home, but I'm not doing washing. I'm not prepping dinner. I'm not doing that until it's the washing and prepping dinner time.
Yes.
Because as soon as my brain goes from one thing to another, you're going to waste time in that transition. And time is money, and time is life. If I waste time, I get less time with my daughter. I get less time with my husband. I get less time having joy in my life.
Yeah.
And if someone says, you want to come for a coffee? And I'm like, no, sorry. If I adjust that, I'm now wasted half a day and I'm going to have resentment over that social time. I'd rather say, yes, let's do that at 1 o'clock on a Monday, because I can do 1 o'clock on a Monday works for me.
Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't work for me. Well, I can do 1 o'clock Friday. And it's not saying no, it's saying yes, but I'm organized. Or, it's that extra effort on a Sunday to get some stuff sorted or get my groceries done. And you do have to be organized, but you need to know what you want. And if they don't align, then you don't do it.
Totally. So, and the power of, again, designing the life, and really being intentional about that, but also setting boundaries. So really understanding when you do what you need to do, when you have the most energy, and saying no if it doesn't serve that.
Yeah, totally. The boundaries are huge. If last night I was falling asleep doing a bit of work, I could just kind of, I said, call it, stop. This is not productive. Stop, go to bed. And off I went and get done today.
And you wake up better today and get it done. And you probably get it done half the time
because
you've had a coffee, you're alert, you're all good to go. Yeah. I love it so much. You are absolutely incredible. I feel like we could sit here for hours. So let's just wrap up with one last maybe nugget of wisdom. So a lot of the Spark community are, new business owners. And, if there's one lesson that you've learned perhaps over the last, 20 plus years now of running multiple businesses, what would you say to a female founder who's listening in right now who might be struggling a little bit?
Blocking your life. Block your life like mad. That is 100% my thing, because it's so easy as a small business person to be doing, I'll just quickly do this while the kids are there at the playground. I'll just quickly do this. Now I'll do a bit of this. Now I'll do a bit of this. And that becomes mental clutter and overwhelm. It really does. Know what it is you want, know your non-negotiables, and book your life. Absolutely block it. This is my sewing time, or whatever it might be. This is my work time. Because then if you want to choose to do a little bit at the park, that's fine. But if you don't want to do it, it's also fine. And you won't have to stress or worry that you're not doing it.
You are amazing, Kacey. Thank you so much for spending your time with us today and the Spark community. I have my own list of things I've got to go do and sort out my life now that we've had a conversation. So I know that will have resonated with so many people. I couldn't be more grateful for you.
Danielle, it's been so nice to chat to you. Thank you. And I just hope you inspire so many women, because we don't have to live 9 to 5 hating on our families or our children, even though we love them. We can live life.
We can live. I love it. This is the best message to theme for a podcast, living, not working.
Yeah, living, not working. Live it. Yeah.